I'm pretty sure that this little video is going to lead to a crafting obsession if you're new to reverse canvases. Y'all, welcome back. My name is Amy Green with Amy and Art Designs, and I am so excited that you're here crafting with me today. I've got two parts to this tutorial. The first one shows you how I resized and cut the file on my silhouette. And the second part is the hands-on crafting piece. So watch all of it, watch the part you need. I just can't wait to craft with you today. And before we get started, hit that like and subscribe so we can stay in touch. All right, guys, let's craft. I am so excited about this project today. Since I learned about reverse canvas, I've been obsessed. So before we get into all the details about reverse canvas, let's talk about what we're doing here in Silhouette Studio. We are going to cut our design from heat transfer vinyl. And let me import the design. So I'm just going to go to my Finder. I'm on a Mac. I'm going to go to my downloads and I'm going to choose the SVG that I want right here. And I'm just going to drag this here. I'm going to put a link down below where you can get this file. I downloaded this from Creative Fabrica. I have a annual subscription to Creative Fabrica because I use it all the time. You can either subscribe or you can buy designs as you want. I absolutely love their selection and the price is so affordable. So I highly recommend that. Now I'm going to resize this is what I'm doing now. I've just clicked and I'm dragging. My area that's going to show is 4x6. So I want this about 3.5 inches wide. I think that'll work. And for my settings, I have my mat selected because I'm doing HTV. So my machine's here. I'm doing a manual feed. And my cutting mat is the Cameo 12x12 because, again, I'm doing HTV, so I'm going to use a cutting mat with this. And HTV is heat transfer vinyl. Typically, when you go to send a design with heat transfer vinyl, you want to reverse the design or mirror it. You want it to be flipped. But I'm going to go here. I've got heat transfer. You want to choose it from your list. There's a bunch of different types, but mine is smooth. I'm going to use the auto blade, and it already chooses my blade depth. And watch what happens when I push send. It's going to remind me to mirror. Have you mirrored? And it says that designs often need to be mirrored. Do you wish to send mirrored, or do you want it to send it displayed as on the screen? So in this edition of Silhouette Studio, the business edition, you don't have to mirror your design. It'll do it for you, which is so helpful. That way you don't make a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to get my silhouette loaded, and then we're going to cut this design. Before we go any further, I want to show you the supplies I'm going to use. I've got this Crafter Square Canvas. It's 5x7 from Dollar Tree. I've got some weeding tools, a razor blade, scissors. I've got my design that I've cut out here. We're going to take it off the canvas in just a minute. I'm going to use a craft iron, and I'm going to try the craft iron. See how it works on this after we've painted it. If it doesn't work, then we're going to have to move to plan B, but we're going to see if the craft iron works. And some stain. I'm going to use this, I think this is espresso wood stain. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we weed our design, let's start with our canvas. So we need to unwrap it, and we're going to get rid of everything here. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to take our razor blade, and we're just going to cut along between these staples and the edge, because what we're doing is cutting the canvas off, okay? You're going to be, if you have not done a reverse canvas project, you are going to be obsessed after this, because these are so much fun. Okay, a few things to just point out. I'm speeding this up so that you can see the process while we talk about the best way to do this. The first thing I want to remind you of is that these are Dollar Tree frames. And while they are super cute and the project's going to look amazing, the frame is fragile. It's held together by one tiny little nail on the end of each board. And so they're not the sturdiest frames in the world. Just work carefully and don't yank. Second is be real careful with that box knife or your razor blade. You don't want to cut yourself. The third thing is don't worry about removing the staples because we are going to cover the back part up and you're not going to see them at all. If you have any questions about doing this part of the project, make sure you leave those questions below in the comments, and I would be so happy to answer them and help you out with this part of the project in any way that I can. I decided that I needed to sand this frame a little bit. It's a little splintery, so again, be careful. Just pull those splinters off, but you don't want to get them stuck in your finger. And I just wanted to clean the frame up a little bit. The edges were a little rough, and while I wanted rustic, I also wanted finished looking. So grab some 320 grit sandpaper, and again, be very gentle because it's fragile, but have fun and make it look the way that you want it to. Next, we're gonna paint our canvas. I'm just using a pure black paint by DecoArt. I'll put that in the description. And the important thing for this step is to make sure you cover that canvas center completely. We're gonna cut off the edges so you don't have to paint all the way to the end, but you wanna make sure you get to the folds where you see the creases on the canvas. And what I've noticed when I paint these is that it looks like it's finished, it looks like it's covered, and I let it dry, and then I notice a few more spots. So make sure you do a little touch up after your first coat to make sure that it's covered completely, because that's going to give it the best look. Okay, so I've changed my mind. I'm going to use the special walnut stain, mostly because the espresso is dark, this is lighter, and I just want to see... I'm not sure how this will take the stain, honestly. You could also use like a brown paint, but I just don't want anything super dark because my black center, my black canvas is super dark. If you've never stained anything before, this is one of my favorite treatments to wood, but don't worry, if you don't have a stain, just use some watered down brown paint. Another trick is to apply the paint with a baby wipe. What I love about the stain is it lets the natural beauty of the wood shine through. For this wood, I wasn't sure how dark the stain would be because each piece of wood takes stain differently, and especially each species. So walnut, maple, pine, they all look a little different once they're stained. This actually ended up being lighter than I wanted. I've got a note later in the video that I went back and added the darker stain on top of it, and I think it was perfect. But something you can do that I didn't is just test the back and see what the color looks like on the back before you get started. Okay, so the thing I wanted to point out to you here is that when I reversed the design, it was over here. It prints over here. So just be aware that when you do that, you need to make sure that you have vinyl in that opposite place because it just took the whole thing and flipped it over. I'm weeding the vinyl now using some of my favorite tools. I've got my silhouette hook, I've got my Siser tweezers, and just notice my design looks backwards. It looks like I'm looking at it in a mirror because the side that's up right now is the side that's going to go down onto our canvas. So if you, well, there I go with my words, but if you've never worked with HTV before, sometimes it's a little confusing the first time to get your head around it. But after you've done it a couple times, you absolutely can. Now you might be thinking, well, Amy, I don't have any HTV and I don't want to buy any just for this project. Well, if you have got some white vinyl laying around, just use that. Absolutely. I wanted to try the HTV on this because I've never ironed onto a canvas, but you can absolutely just use your plain white vinyl. Here's our design, and this is gonna go kind of right in the middle. The great thing about this HTV is that it has like a sticky layer so it'll stay in place. I have a tiny piece of something right there. Yeah, we don't want that to iron on, so we're gonna put this right in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna put this over it to see. That's kind of what it's gonna look like. Make sure I've got everything the way I want it. Yeah, so yeah. So I'm gonna put this down here. I'm gonna put my parchment paper on top. I'm gonna use my craft iron to just see if I can iron this on. All right, I'm speeding this up for you because the ironing process took me a little bit. I know there are directions on the Siser wrapper to show you how to use or to tell you how long the time should be for HTV. Y'all, I don't know. I threw it out. I'd have to look it up. I was just trying to see if I could hold my iron down because and make it stick because I'd never done that before. You see, I'm checking it there just to see if it had started to peel off. In that trial, it had it on the top and not on the bottom. So what I found is I just had to hold my craft iron in place for a little bit to get that HTV to transfer onto the painted canvas. But it absolutely works like a charm. So just keep at it. And I know someone's going to ask, no, I do not know how hot that iron gets. I have no idea. It's just a little craft iron from Amazon. You can find it in my in the description. I love it. I use it for everything, but I have no idea. It has one setting, on and off. But it's like one of my favorite tools, y'all. If you don't have one, you need to get one. There we go. Look at that. Now, next up, I'm going to put on a coat of this Dark Clear Ultra Matte just to protect the surface. It's an optional step, but I think it's a really good one, especially if you want it to last. This goes on a little milky. It's a little milky when it comes out of the bottle, but we're just going to put an even coat on. And when it dries, it will be have a matte finish and protect our cute little Merry Christmas sign. I mean, it's really cute. Really, really cute. All right. We're now going to trim these edges. Just a little bit before we attach it to our sign. And then we'll trim the edges all the way. But I just want to get some of these bigger edges out. So now we have this great little canvas with this cute little design. I'm going to trim these pieces away. Okay, so we've got our design. I trimmed the edges. We put the DuraClear on it, and that's dry. Now we're at our final step. We're getting close to the end. Look how cute this is going to look when we're all done. Now we're just going to get this on here the way we want it. Kind of centered. So I think what I'm gonna do, because I don't know what else to do, I'm gonna use some painter's tape so I'm gonna use some painters, let's see here. I'm gonna use some painter's tape to kind of hold this in place so that when I staple it, at least put the first staples in, it's exactly where I want it to be. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I haven't really figured this out yet. Okay, so I should be able to go in here. It's got a staple gun. Okay. Let's see how that looks. We've got it started. The rest should be good. Yeah, it's exactly where we want it. Okay. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to go right across the top here. I didn't take those staples out because I don't really think I need to. Put one more there. Okay. I'm going to pull this down. Let me see. Looking good. All right, here we go. Now, are we out of staples? Hold on, we're out of staples. All right, let's finish this. Okay, I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna start in the middle. All right, for this, my tips for you are start in the middle and work your way out. That way you're not going to get bubbling or wrinkling in your canvas. The other tip that I have is don't pull it so tight that the canvas kind of makes waves or bows. Pull it tight enough so that it's flat and not so tight that it distorts the shape. I used 1/4-inch staples. I think you could use bigger staples. The only thing I would caution you against is that this wood is very dry. So when you're stapling it, just make sure that you stay in the center as much as you can, and that your staples aren't really big and thick and split the wood. Once you have it all stapled, you can go around with your razor blade and cut on the outside of your staple. You hear I'm pulling a couple of them out because it was not as graceful as I wanted to be, but go around with your razor blade and cut that excess canvas off, making sure to stay on the outside of the staples and pull off any strings that are left from the canvas. So here it is. Our final product. Isn't this cute? A little 5x7 reverse canvas mini sign. And you would never know that you started with a Dollar Tree canvas. So for the cost of this stencil, or this SVG, a little HTV vinyl, some black paint, a little bit of wood stain. We've got a really cute sign that you can put in a tiered tray. You can set it on your mantle. There's so many different things you can do with this, and it is absolutely precious. So my name's Amy Green. I'm with Amy and Art Designs. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and crafting today. I can't wait to see you back here again. In the meantime, drop me a star if you watched all the way to the end, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you back here real soon.